Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It is appreciated. Now, I know I didn't probably do this on the last couple of videos, but I have made a bit of a pledge to myself for 2024 that when it comes to doing the videos, I'm going to try, and even though, I like to be analytical, I like to try and give thoughts and be rational and nuanced in my takes. I want to give just a little bit more energy moving forward, a little bit more personality, character. I show it every now and again, but that's the pledge. So from now moving forward, it has to be a bit more engaging, a bit more entertaining, and I want you guys to hold me to account. If I'm not keeping up the energy, keeping up the levels, you gotta let me know in the comments, and we'll fix it. Also, there's going to be a lot more live streams, maybe not fight watch alongs, because I do like to kind of just watch those in my own piece, but if they're big enough or they're significant enough to me, of course I'll do that. But just more live streams in general, like maybe on a Thursday evening I might start doing some live streams, or a Wednesday or something, just to keep a bit of engagement, get more people coming to the channel a bit more often outside of just the videos. Anyway, with that being said, there was one major card to speak about over the weekend. I actually can't remember if the Tina Ruprecht fight was on that card. It may not have been. I need to double check. I know that obviously she fought. I just can't remember if it was on the on that Top Rank, and I have the Tiger Promotions card. That being said, there was the Imam Khatib fight, which I literally just watched about an hour ago. Second round stoppage, very, very impressive. I heard the name and I saw his thing when I was doing my predictions league, so I'm going to take some notice of him. Chechnyan born, but now based out of Australia. So yeah, I've got a little bit of a Australian following at the moment, it seems, and I seem to get on quite well with a lot of Australian fighters. So I definitely do want to keep an eye on him, but he looked very sort of nice, neat, tidy, and compact in the 2 rounds that he fought. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. I just finished watching watching them in full. I only saw bits and pieces of them last night because I was kind of busy, preoccupied prior to the main event. But Jason Maloney and Saul Sanchez. Now, I predicted in my video that would be I think a unanimous decision for Jason Maloney, but it ended up being a majority. And after watching it, I mean, yes, it was very hard to score in certain points. I didn't bother to do a scorecard. Obviously, I knew the result anyway. I got my prediction right as to who I thought would win. But it was definitely a lot harder than I thought it would be based on Saul Sanchez's levels of opponent. But with that being said, a lot of the Mexican Americans, it doesn't even matter like what their levels are, because they will fight to the death. It doesn't, they will rise to the occasion. And you could tell that he was really starting to struggle after the 10th round, having never done rounds 11 and 12. But he gritted his teeth, especially in that last round. He was just literally digging the toes into the ground, and it was just, let's go. If you get me out of here, you deserve it, but I'm coming to get you out of here. It was a very back and forth fight. The first half of it, I think I had it 4-2 to Maloney after the first half, but after 8, I definitely had it like an 8-8 type fight. And then from there, I just said, you know what, it's cool. I don't even bother scoring it right now. I might watch it again maybe tomorrow, when I've got to do the breakdown on Tuesday, just to sort of have more nuance. But I did like, it was a very entertaining fight, and thus far it was definitely one of the most entertaining fights of the year thus far, even though there's only been 2 or 3 fight cards, but whatever. After that, I did see I'm gonna have to start calling him Christian Mbili, but I like Mbili. It sounds better, but I'm gonna be respectful. So Christian Mbili, him and Rohan, what was his name? Rohan Murdoch. Yeah, Rohan Murdoch. That fight. Now, I was watching it in the I was half watching it where I was, but I remember I said on my breakdown video, never seen much of him. I gave him some grace because he was Australian. Again, I know that just Australians naturally are just very tough and rugged people. But I said, you know, you get knocked out by Zach Parker. I know where your level is, and that was a bit of a disrespect. So I want to give him a little bit of an apology on that. I mean, he was still levels below Mbile, but he also caught Mbile quite a bit in that fight. He's got a granite chin. I will rate that, even though it was still another technical, you know, a knockout on his record. Like, he weren't knocked out, he was there, and he ate some of the biggest shots Mbile had to offer, and you know, shots that I've seen other guys wilt under, and he didn't buckle, he didn't fall to the ground, he didn't take a knee, he carried on, and he kept throwing back. After the fourth round, though, his punches, there was no snap on any of it. They just became arm punches at that point. He had no, you know, there was no force behind them. His legs probably weren't fully underneath him. He was gassing. He wasn't really like, you know, his cardio was pretty good, but you could tell that just the energy had run out, and he was literally sort of punching on instinct, but there was nothing behind him. And I think at that point Nabili just decided, yeah, let's just go to work. And in the fourth round, when he got his mouth guard punched straight out of his mouth, it went flying into the crowd. Like, that was a mad shot. And even then, he gets hit again in the face, and he's motioning to the ref like, I've got no mouth guard, and Mbile doesn't care. Bang bang again. and then he just has to tuck up. When he's still there exchanging, no mouthpiece, no mouth guard. I gotta rate that. But on Mbile, we know what he is. He's a wrecking ball, destructive, super destructive. And I keep saying it, I know they're probably never going to get them in there, but I need Mbile and Kevin Lily-Sajo to fight. You've got Canadian and French, although they're both like French, sort of French speaking Africans anyway. That is just a fight of violence of the highest order. I need that. Someone please make that happen. That fight has to be made. Mbile is obviously the younger of the two, probably got the better engine, but just the two of them, that's just carnage. Like, if we want 50-50 competitive fights, or fights just for the fans, that is a fight that is for the fans. That's a fight. Don't go to the bathroom, you don't go to the bar, you don't, go and get your drinks during that fight. No, you stay in your seat. Everything needs to happen before then and after then, because that's a fight you don't leave. That's just, it has to be that. But with that being said, one thing I also want to rate about Murdoch, his corner. From the fifth round, they said, if I see you hurt in the sixth, I'm going to pull you out. So his cornerman's got the towel in his hand. But Murdoch's he's actually doing quite well in that sixth. He was winning a lot of that round, to be fair, until right towards the end. The cornerman, he put the towel down, so okay, I'm going to let him see this one out. But then on the story says, you're done, mate. And the guy says, no. One more round, come on, give me one more round. And he said, look, you haven't won any of these, you're not going to win this fight, like, just live to fight another day. But the fact that you verbally heard Murdoch in the corner saying, oh, one more round, come on, give me one more, like, that shows the heart that the guy's got. So you know what, I'm not going to say I'm a fan, but I take back everything I said in Basis Picks. I apologize. That's a warrior right there. And if he's on a card again, no matter who he's fighting, whether he's an underdog, whether he's the overwhelming favourite, or whether he's due to get stopped in a round, I want to watch him fight. And that's kind of how you sometimes win me over and win over my approval, when you go above and beyond the Call of Duty when there's no reason to. And so I want to rate him for that. But we are here to obviously talk about the main event, which was Artur Beterbiev against Callum Smith. Now, I don't understand where all of the bluster for Callum Smith winning this fight came from. Don't get me wrong, if someone said to me, Callum Smith wins this fight because he does X, Y, and Z, and Artur doesn't like, A, B, and C. Okay, if you can give me some plausible technical reasons as to why Callum's gonna win this fight, apart from, Artur's getting on a bit, and age is the is undefeated, and it's the big leveler, and he's just a fresher guy, and you're like, well, the fresher guy coming off of 17, nearly 18 months worth of a layoff. I mean, there's that. But then outside of that, everyone's talking about this. Oh, yeah, but his catch and counter, this catch and counter left. Do you think Beterbiev has never seen a catch and counter left in his career? Do you think he's never been hit with a counter left before? Like, he knows what they are and he knows how to prepare for them. And quite clearly, when you look at it, if you look at the majority of Callum Smith's fights, the first thing you say is, well, he seems to win a lot of these fights against his opponents with a catch counter. That counter left seems to come in. So, okay, right. So we just make sure we keep the right hand up a lot more consistently than we usually do. Keep that there. And every time he goes to square up, we either step over or we shoot this straight through the middle to disrupt him. And that's pretty much what they've done. Now, Beterbiev is a person who normally likes to, he will walk the people down and apply that slow, incessant pressure, and box and move. But this is probably one of those few times that we've actually seen him get to work properly from the first round. Sometimes he'll joust with you just to see what's there, just to see like what your power's like, how you angle so that he can work his trajectories in behind those very, very short shots. But this one, he was on that front foot from early in the first round. I'm assuming that whole atypical findings thing upset him. He's like, one thing, there are certain people, I know devout Muslims are some. You've obviously got some Christian faith people, other religions, but just people of very strong and high moral character. They do not like when their character is questioned. I know that for a fact. When someone questions my character, that's one of the worst things you can do. Especially if I know that in that moment I'm correct. So I can only imagine after that statement came out for him, when they were saying, about the VADA testing and could he potentially not have been clean. And I know for a lot of that came from Liam Smith. I know Callum didn't say anything. Callum made no excuses, so we're going to give him his plaudits in a little bit. But I know Liam was saying quite a bit. And I feel like out of the group, Liam is probably the most, I don't want to say bitter. He's not bitter, but if you want to talk about like one of the nasty ones within a group, I think Liam is probably the nasty brother. Like, I know Paul and Stephen have always kind of been very, respectful and above board, whatever. They don't really trash talk or get into that. Callum's always kind of been just a quiet, kind of humble, family-ish type guy, maybe just because he's the youngest of them. But Liam's always the one that's like, he's the little pit bull, the one that will, bark after everyone and bite after everyone. So maybe, obviously, Beterbiev's heard stuff that's come from Liam, and he's just associated that with Callum, said, okay, you have to go. So he didn't give him any quarter. He didn't give him any moments to be able to get his game plan together. And ultimately, when you look at the fight, the first thing we say is, well, look, against John Ryder, against Saul Canelo Alvarez, two things that when he's got people that are not scared of his power, that will put him on the back foot, and not just they're not throwing excessively or excessantly, but they push him back and they basically bully the bigger man, he has trouble. You can see from that very first round, he started with that high guard tuck up from early. That's not the guard you need against a Beterbiev. You have to stay angled, and you have to use one arm at a time. You have to be prepared to exchange when he's in range. This doesn't help you, because now you have nothing to be able to attack with. Everything's defense. And because he doesn't load up with any shots, nothing, he doesn't wing anything in, there's nothing coming from the back of the room, everything is short. Like, it's like he doesn't even put any talk into it. Everything is just natural freakish power. It's actually, if you look at the way he boxes and the way he throws those punches, it's very impressive how he generates that much power from, it's almost like that 1 inch, 6 inch punch. Everything is probably no more than 6 inches of distance between a lot of those shots, and they just take their toll, every single one of them. I reckon if he had an opponent that was, suitably hurt enough, or even if they weren't hurt enough, but they just had a really leaky guard and he didn't even have to give you that 6 inch punch, I reckon if he brought one back from the back of the room, twisted and rotated the hips into it, and followed through and punched through the target, I reckon he is a one punch KO artist, because you can't have the kind of power he has with that amount of reach and not necessarily have that stopping power, like that one punch, not that breaking your will, but just that one punch, I will clean you out ability. I think he's got it, to be quite honest. But I want to give Callum his respect and his credit in there, because he didn't simply just tuck up on the ropes and try to take the beatings and maybe just pop a jab here or there, or try for one or two counters here or there. He did try to fight fire with fire. He tried to exchange with Beterbiev. He had a good second round. I still didn't give it to him, but he had a good second. I think he had a decent sixth as well. And he didn't do too badly in the fifth. But again, very similar to the Anthony Yarde fight, I looked and said, all right, well, even when you're having moments, your moments are not overwhelming or overriding the fact that this fight is just going one way. And there was never a time in the ring where Beterbiev looked uncomfortable or looked like, oh, let me be cautious. Even when the times when he backed off a bit, there was a couple of times I saw him back off and move into the corner, and I knew exactly what he was going to do, because he done it. Callum sort of came in, tried to throw a couple punches. Beterbiev tucked up, grabbed, swung, pivoted round, moved him into the corner, and got busy and got to work. So it was a dominant performance. Like I said, I had it 6-0 after 6 rounds. I think I saw one of the judges, I think, had given Callum Smith 3 rounds. I think when I saw the judges' scorecards, one gave him 1, one gave him 2, and I think one gave him 3. And I was looking, I'm like, I don't see that at all. I don't know why you can give him 3 rounds. Like, even if you look at those rounds, the person whose punches are landing more consistently and having the more, lasting effect in those rounds is not Callum Smith's punches. Even if maybe he did have a decent catch counter here or a decent right hand there. But look, it was a dominant, devastating performance. He, everyone was talking about, oh, well, he's almost 39, age is going to catch up to him. Well, let this be a lesson to those that when you live your life a certain way, and I'm not even preaching because I don't, so I'm not acting like I'm holding it out, but you live your life a certain way, you do things, and your body does things that people of a similar age can't understand. He doesn't drink, best to my knowledge. I don't know if he ever has, but obviously devout Muslim, doesn't drink, obviously very respectful, very hardworking, trains, incessantly, gives back to the community, just has that pure, that pure alpha heart. But then outside of all of that, you have to look at then, if you are just naturally like, you have that God-given power, God-given strength, and all you do is work on it, you slow down the aging process. Now, yeah, his actual, apart from obviously the injuries and stuff that he suffers due to that physical, vicious, hard training that he does do, maybe you say that his body, rather than being the body of a 38/39-year-old now, maybe he's actually got the body more of a 33-year-old or a 32-year-old in terms of, how it functions and, his organs and stuff, because he hasn't been taking a battering. Whereas someone like Callum Smith, Liam, and a lot of other people, they may have bodies that are the age they are, or maybe even a little bit older, because you have a little bit of drink, sometimes you're on a party, a lot of late nights in your early days. Like, we all age differently. So other than that, look, it was a dominant, masterful performance. Him and Bivol now has to be made. Bob Arum was saying, yeah, we do it in Saudi around about July time. I was like, no, Bob, Saudi are not putting that fight on in July. If you want people to die of heat stroke and dehydration, that ring, if you remember how the ring was looking when you had AJ and Usyk in number 2 and Zhang and Hrgovic, where everyone was slipping all over the place because the thing was drenched. People probably lose half their body weight trying to compete and battle in that kind of weather. So yeah, I don't see that happening. It's probably happen September, October. I think I've been told Riyadh season this year might be starting in September as opposed to October. So I'm assuming they'd probably try and do it for the very first fight of that. I would like to see Biv will have another fight in maybe April or May time. I know he won't, but just to obviously get that sharpness back, because he was out of the ring for quite a bit of time. But he did go 12 with Linden, so his body, I guess, is suitably warmed up to that. It would have even been nice for Beterbiev to have another little gimme fight again, like April, May times. But being the fact that he is obviously devout Muslim, he will be observing Ramadan. That's probably not likely. So I can understand it from his point of view. But yeah, outside of that, one thing I want to talk about just before I end this video, like I said, I saw some stuff from Liam Smith regarding he was basically calling Beterbiev a cheat on some videos and stuff. Tony Bellew put out some tweets earlier on, something along the lines of, look, this guy's a beast, he's an animal, and he's getting more powerful and faster with age. Like, that's not normal, essentially. Obviously he's alluding to the fact that he's using substances and supplements to help his his clock slow down or speed up in this sense. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not here to defend or fight anyone else's battles. I don't know what he does or he doesn't do, yeah? All I know is that all the tests, all of his entire career, any and every test he's had has come back as clean. Even the atypical findings with the slightly higher raised levels of HGH and testosterone, they were still within what is deemed regular levels of a male, sort of a regular male. Now, obviously, when you do those tests, a lot of the time, I think you do it based on an average of the population. You don't necessarily do it based on the average of elite athletes. So when a lot of the average male population don't live the lifestyle that he lives, it would be obvious that maybe they don't have the same levels of testosterone or HGH or, the body mechanics, the metabolism, or, everything like that. So the fact that they weren't outside of what is deemed acceptable, like you've got a higher level and then you've got really high, and then obviously you got mids and you got average and you got lower. Yeah, they was above what the averages are, but they were still below any really questionable ones. Every test after that was clean. The test before that were clean, and it was all done, I think, within the space of like 2 weeks. So yeah, with all of that, the fact that it was all naturally reoccurring stuff that happens in the body, and there was no traces or picogram amounts of any synthetic HGH or testosterones or whatever, I've got no issues with it. And quite frankly, Tony Bellew shouldn't be alluding to that without any forms of proof. And it's weird because the thing is, you say that, and I don't even want to drag other people into this, but obviously just for context of here, I'm going to do it for this particular one. So obviously we've got the Conor Ben situation, which one point I thought, nah, he ain't done anything. Then I saw something which made me think maybe he might have unknowingly ingested something based on how we've made a certain communication. But ultimately, I'm still waiting for his facts and figures to come out. So we've got that. And Tony never said anything about that, right? There's been numerous people that have made accusations about Anthony Joshua. Not necessarily, I'm not even going to say being juiced, but, saying about he's got his TUEs, his therapeutic usage exemptions, and a lot of that, from what we've heard, is to do with testosterone. So whether he's got a lower level than is normal, so he has to have the TUEs to boost up. But that's that ultimately is synthetic. Whether it gets you to a certain level or not, I don't know particularly how it works. But you've got people that Tony loves and champions, and they have accusations against them, and I've never once heard him say, oh, well, Joshua he's getting bigger and stronger every fight. I mean, how is he doing it? He's older now. How is that working? I've never heard him say that. But yet, when it's a guy that obviously you've got no ties to, it's not your friend, and obviously someone that's now just, punched out one of your city mates, all of a sudden you're throwing accusations to try and diminish his abilities in the ring. I don't like it, to be totally honest. And again, this is not about, I'm not pointing any fingers at Joshua or Ben or anything. I'm just using that as an example because he never came out on Twitter and put out any cryptic statements about those people after they were accused of certain things. Because at the end of the day, you talk about Beterbiev, whether he had an atypical finding or even an adverse finding, so to speak, neither were there. Like there was everything after that was negative. So sometimes some people have one adverse finding and then everything else around it is negative. So it says, okay, this could have just been a contamination supplement or substance or even a contaminated sample, depending on when all the other tests came around it. But atypical means it's not even adverse. It's not outside the realms of possibility. It's just atypical in this moment. But from everything else has all been negative, like to lay those accusations, I just think is a bit disgusting and disgraceful. But that's always been one of the reasons why I've never really liked Tony Bellew. I don't like his virtual signaling and his, well, it's all right for us, but it's not all right for them mentality. I don't like that. The one thing I would say though, and the one thing I will rate about Tony Bellew is, I know if I was his friend or he was my friend, I feel like he would back me to the ends of the earth publicly. Maybe there were certain things that he would like maybe cuss me out about in public. I mean, in private, but in public, he's got your back. He's the kind of person, if you go into battle, like, you know, people's on you on the streets, like he's backing it. And I will give him grace for that. But outside of that, yeah, everyone knows, I've never liked Tony as a person. Everyone says, oh, he's such a lovely guy. Yeah, not for me. He's never been the person that I've wanted to get to know, to find out if he's a nice guy or not. He's a pretty decent fighter, but again, I think he was an overhyped fighter. And just as an individual, I've never taken to anything he's said or done. But yeah, that being said, I'm gonna leave it there because this ain't about that. This is about last night. Last night was a great night of action. 2024 is starting off in a very fun fashion, and long may it continue. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna upload this, and then more videos coming during the week. We've got the AJ and Ngannou press conference tomorrow, so no doubt I will probably have some new material for the channel based on that as well. So I'll leave it there. Let me know your comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and yeah, catch you on the next one. Peace.